I'm super excited for this discussion because we're going to be talking about angels, but we're not just going to be talking about angels. We're going to have Michael, who is an intuitive angel guide, here talking with us, sharing all about his experience. And I've had some incredible opportunities to witness and experience the magic that he does. Actually, the magic isn't the right word because it's not magic. It's just the beautiful way that you bring through the support of angels. And one of the reasons why we're having this discussion is that, as you all know, I've recently launched my book, Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics. And so today we're going to be talking all about the angels. So Michael, welcome to our discussion. This is so wonderful to have you here.
Oh, Beth, thank you very much for having me on.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk all about these because a couple of stories that I talk about in my book are my first encounters with angels. And I also want to say that I did buy your book. I have it on my phone, Listening to Angels. And I want to talk about my experience prior to reading your book and my experience after reading your book. Many years ago, I was going through a divorce and lots of things were happening. And I started doing what I call remote writing, which is sitting down and channeling and journaling and getting guidance from our higher self, sometimes our angels, spirit guides. And one time I was asked to go back to my marital property. I was still in the middle of the divorce, but I was asked to go back to take care of a dog that we were co-parenting. And my ex-husband or husband at the time was traveling. So I went back to the home, wasn't that excited about being in the marital home because it was a little bit sticky, you know, just really trying to work through everything. And I also had this really tough time with why don't our brothers and sisters wake up with us along the way? Because I was going through a really intense soul quickening. And I wondered, even though I was very clear on why I was leaving and that I was continuing to leave, I just had that nagging feeling of, you know, like, but why? Why can't our loved ones come along with us? So I'm sitting on the sofa and I'm reading a book, and all of a sudden this massive swoosh of energy comes into the room. And I just feel like a little bit, wow, what was that feeling? And I kind of peered over the top of my book, right? Like it was almost like I just looked over the top of my book that I was reading. And my book was on mindful loving or something. It had nothing to do with angels. So I wasn't reading about angels. And the next thing I knew, there were 5 people standing in front of me, about maybe 10, 15 feet away. They had on plaid shirts and blue jeans. And they looked like they were about in their 30s. And there was this 5 of them. Like, how would I know this, right? They just showed up. They were translucent, though. They weren't like 100% solid bodies. So I knew that they were there, not there. And the message came to me, you're doing the right thing, keep going. And I was just like, oh, and it was just like this wave of like incredible love that just came through me. Well, I knew what I felt, but my mind stepped in and I said, oh my gosh, that's just craziness. You know, that's my imagination. And I kind of poo-pooed it for a while until I just said, no, I cannot ignore this. So I've never seen those 5 angels again, but I knew they were my earth angels. I knew they were my celestial angels, like here helping me, guiding me. And I wondered if when you started your journey, if you had something like that where the angels actually showed up, and or if you have any commentary on, you know, how and when this happens to us, when we actually see these 5 translucent beings show up, in my case, in my living room, with a really clear and simple message.
If you're a ball of light with a stock ticker tape, the old 1920s ticker tape for the stock market, that's your thinking. And so I would just say that for beings of light, unconditional of beings who are here to support us, it's super easy to see where you're at and those exact moments when you're going to need a little assistance. And so emotionally, you were probably needing a little assistance at that moment. It's pretty awesome that all 5 showed up like that. Too bad it wasn't like the Doobie Brothers or Foo Fighters and you got a song out of it. But so everything about you is known. Your entire life path in a way is known. And they also just know how to say everything the right way. It's great that angels speak all languages, all dialects, and can show up in full-on human form and in other ways too, in light energy form and stuff like that. But more importantly, they know how to navigate your emotional like belief system, where you're at, your level of resistance.
Yep.
And the number one thing is not to interfere, because you're having the best experience in this very moment you could ever have.
Yeah.
So it's better a person is living their own life. That's the ultimate experience. Think of it as a dad teaching how to ride a bike to a kid. If
Yeah.
the dad is on for 2 hours straight on the bike, the kid's getting nothing out of the experience. And that's kind of all of us. And we're learning to ride the bike. The bike here is not just our journey in life, but learning to allow more, love more,
Yeah.
and continue our growth and expansion. And that's the one thing adults, all of us, when we're adulting, we do a lot of thinking and a lot of knowing, rejecting worry, fear, stress, thinking that blocks our growth, our further love and expansion. So you got some positive reinforcement at that exact moment. And to answer quickly, yes, I've had a lot of experiences where angels show up in full on human form. I'll give you one example where it was half of a human form. I'm running on a trail in Austin, totally just wilderness, forested. And I could see, I can't remember if it was the torso from the waist up or the waist down, the legs of an angel. It was human trail running, an angel named Dale running around the corner. But because no one's ever on this trail, I picked it up just to see where that person, was it a good runner? Was it not a good trail runner? And runners do this. I got around the tree eventually and there's no one up ahead. And I picked it up even more. And it was just one of my close angels popping in to say hi. And it knew I was going to have that reaction. And it was just a pop in saying hi, everything's okay sort of thing. And I'll mention one other little thing, and that's little balls of light. You could be in the middle of some heavy thinking. You're not even realizing you're going through it. And a little ball of light will show up just to bring you back to your heart. And I love that because it's so gentle. It's really an allow, ask, and receive situation for those watching who aren't so sure about the topic or who have had experiences before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for that commentary. And I think for me, what I really got out of it was at that time in my life, I was so worried, not about who might walk through my door, but I was really worried about the other realms. And I think what it did is it gave me that peace of mind that it's okay. And that there are people and angels and spirits and guides on the other side with us every day. And so it kind of took off this pressure of thinking that was scary or spooky or, the paranormal being unknown. And it catapulted me into wanting to really speak to the angels on a more daily basis. And at the time, I was a big fan of, I had the cards here, but of angel cards, and I would use them every day to ask questions, right? I would ask a question every single day to the angels, and it really got me in touch with that. Fast forward now, gosh, I don't know, 20 years later, and I haven't done that on a daily basis. I haven't asked the angels. I feel really connected. I feel like I'm speaking to my higher self a lot. But when I got your book, I thought, wow, this is really fun. I'm going to speak to each one of these angels. And I wasn't skeptical necessarily, but I just also didn't have any expectations. I was just like, well, I feel really connected in my daily life. So I wonder how this is going to be different. So I read about each one of the angels that you listed in there before I sat down to do the exercise. And I had a question, and I sat and I was quietly listening, and you were right. Each angel, I don't know that I got the exact same flair from each one that you do, but each one had a very different voice, a very different energy about them, and a very different response. And each response was just, it felt so spot on for the question that I asked. And I was like, oh, thank you for reminding me about how wonderful it can be to just facilitate that relationship and have that conversation, even when we feel like we're connected to our higher self. It makes it a lot more fun to get that guidance. So thank you, first of all, for writing the book and for sharing all those pictures. But I'd like to know a little bit more about how you built the relationship or got introduced to each one of those. I know you just mentioned Dale, and Dale's in the book and the pictures in there. Do you have stories about each one and how they came to you and at what point in your life that they came in?
Sure. And I would love to say that I wrote the little book. It's Listening to Angels for those following along. It's at Amazon. And last year, I think on April 30th, it was Amazon's #2 bestseller. And Anita Morjani was kind enough to do a, a book review, an endorsement that would be for next year. It'll be the 10th year anniversary. I'm hoping to repackage it. But if you think I wrote it, thank you so much. I was seeing balls of light as I typed. And it is the gentlest language. I think the most complex words in there are like, unconditional love. And maybe the biggest forecast is mankind's ready for a little more compassion, a little more gentleness, a little more kindness. So backing up a little bit, angels are here for us 24/7. Your entire situation is known like that. There's no judging, no support. It's really a question of, and we'll get to the specific question here in a sec. It's really a question of what any individual out there is going to allow for. And we have so much thinking going on. We have 6 million reasons not to allow for any of this or to allow for basic help. You can have any answer to any question, any level of detail. So what I love best is like business people. If they're a salesperson, they want to know who to call. That could be kind of the hook, not to put it that way, but the way that a person lets go enough to allow for some just basic listening. And so I wrote this book. Yes, I had a lot of little experiences at the beginning, was super slow on the uptake, very jittery, probably grabbing every intuitive around in Austin, Texas back then, shaking them by the shirt lapel, saying, what's happening to me? I started hearing, feeling, seeing, and all the photos, the thousands of photos I took of angels, not just circular balls of light, orbs or anything like that, all different shapes. Photos of fairies with wings, archangels, 4 pie slice, rainbow colored triangles. You'll see that on the website or wherever, or in the book. So photos of all different types, thousands of angels in a single photo from Stubbs, the famous barbecue restaurant, outdoor concert place in Austin. So I started taking photos, but more as a security blanket. What am I seeing? At one point, I did the Boston Marathon. I'm on the East Coast. I'd left Austin briefly. I had the flu or something. I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to finish the race. I'm halfway through. Sure enough, I dropped out. Runners can beat themselves up about that stuff, but I was content. I knew I was on a good pace, but I knew I couldn't finish. And it was on the plane ride back on a JetBlue flight. You know how those JetBlue flights are back in, like, I don't know, 2010, 2008. Nice seats. I'm seeing auras for the first time in like every other person. And I'm like, whoa. But I was really in a relaxed state. And then when I got off the plane, I had ear pressure for weeks, like I was still on an airplane at 30,000 feet. And that oftentimes just means you're surrounded by a lot of love. Your relatives, your guides, your angels are trying to kind of just get a message through, let you know that they're right there, proximity. So I went to a doctor about this. And the second I left the office, the ear pressure came right back. I had everything checked out. My hearing was fine. I got a clean bill of health. So what I'm really here to remind folks about is my story, and I'm happy to give you plenty of examples. My story, my details, though, aren't going to help you accept yours or accept your own abilities or accept that it is the easiest thing you've ever done. It's far simpler than people think, because this isn't about thinking in the slightest. It's simply about getting into your heart, which you do all the time. If you're a chef, you know it as the zone, when you're in the middle of cooking in a beautiful kitchen and it's great and everyone's looking forward to the meal. Athletes know it on the field. We all touch our heart at some point, whether we know it or not, during a given day. Very few of us give ourselves enough credit or strive to be in our heart just this much more a day or a week. And that's really the message from angels, is 7% less thinking a week is the gold medal. There's no huge thing here. You don't have to go to an ashram in India, Machu Picchu, do 100 push-ups or 50,000 Hail Marys or a mantra or a mudra to get there. You're there half the time, but it's kind of, there's unconsciousness, there's resistance, stress, fear, worry up here. And then there's just all loving, allowing. All the good moments in life happen here. And so that's really what the message is about. An angel named Joy. Very first angel I think I had an introduction to, I would get woken up in the middle of the night a lot, maybe 3:30, 4:15, no set time, but half the time I'd roll over in bed and go back to sleep. My cat would go out to the living room and was braver than I was. But one time I'm in my living room, Austin, Texas, my first home. It's carpeted, and a Roman candle of pink light whooshed from the floor through the ceiling. And I heard a kind of a ta-da and hi, I'm Joy. And that's the very first angel people meet. If you see her, if you've seen her on my social media, pink ball of light. And seconds later, she just did another one, because they know how to make an impact to get your attention. Some people will see angels in that classic, is it smoke and fire and brimstone expression? I had a guest on a show, 7 stories tall in a waterfall in Washington State, I think, was how he first saw his first angel. It got his attention. So some people have to have it a serious way. I help people see full on, but in a much nicer way. Audrey Hepburn, dressed to the nines, and when she puts her wings out for you, lots of flair and sparkle. So I really like a gentle, soft-hearted, humorous approach, and I think you'll find angels provide lots of humor as well.
Yeah, no, I'm obviously a believer. I'm an experiencer. I speak to angels myself, not in the same capacity that you do. But what about for some of the listeners who are a little bit more skeptical? I've had a lot of photographs where I've had some really amazing orbs and some interesting things, and people come back and say, "Ah, yeah, right. It's just the phone. It's just the camera angle. It's, you know, whatever their pushback is." So, because you've captured some really amazing photographs of angels. But what about for the skeptics? Is there anything that we can say to them about this ability to actually capture on, you know, I would like to say film, but it's really digital these days?
Well, I think I like Joseph Campbell's response in Power of Myth. Go
Okay.
on, you're living a perfectly good life. I'm not here to try to change anyone's thinking. This is about angels are coming in and they're offering help if you want it. So it's unconditional love, take it or leave it. You're still loved regardless. They're just not going to spend the energy on someone who's like, "Hey, I don't need you. This isn't happening." And so you're fine where you are. Where there is and could be a little bit of interest is there's healing to be had. Colorblind people have seen color. If an individual owns it, and you know, you see in baby steps, a little bit of light first before you just see full on in your backyard. If someone's having a hard time just doing basic listening, getting hugs, then they're probably going to want to see 20 houses away rather than across the street. Now, what gets interesting is if I had two sisters and they're getting along, they've each owned it individually, they can do it together. And so this is off the hook. The photos are really nice. It's a good starting point. And historical photos like Audrey Hepburn, a wink, a smile, eyebrow goes up, shoulder waggle, Sai Baba, the one from 100 years ago, photos will move. And so this is really very experiential, very direct, not about any one person or anything like that. I just help a person let go of what they know long enough to go from here to here so they get a direct experience. Everything you know is going to come right back to you. You just might, with that separation, adopt a broader perspective that doesn't take yourself or certain situations so seriously anymore, and remember what it's all about, that the fabric of the universe is love, that your love, as a kid you knew it, at least as an athlete on the field, as an artist, a singer, there's certain moments in life you're just in the groove, and that all moments can be the same. I think as adults, we kind of compartmentalize and we think, let's say we're really crushing it on the career. We're doing well in sales or whatever we do for a living, but maybe we're not doing so hot on the personal front. And we forget that you can be happy now in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. And we're back to, whoa, what's he talking about? And we're back to all of this, photos, feeling a hug, getting answers. How do you know any of this is real? But how do you know a good cup of coffee is a good cup of coffee? There's something in life where you're living and you're down here, you're seeing a sunset, a sunrise, you're hugging your dog. You're not on an iPhone blowing off your dog when you first walked in the door. You're actually telling Fido you love him. So whatever that is what we're talking about. You have to make the most of life. For some people, they're going to go through decades or an entire life or 2 lifetimes where the awareness and just basic living is going to escape. It happens. We get busy, we get locked up into situations up here, and it's only on the last breath that we get a chance to go for the big appreciation and so on. But you don't have to have a near-death experience or death to suddenly get a better, bigger, broader, more fun perspective.
Yes, no, I agree. Well, but it is fun though when we capture in our phones pictures of orbs and different things. And is there, look, it's all about the experience, right? It's whatever we want it to be. And it is like just feeling that hug and feeling like, oh, we're not alone. And there's spirits supporting us, angels supporting us. But when we're looking at our cameras with our friends, not the skeptical ones now, the ones that are really interested, is there any characteristics that we might be able to pick out that we would go, oh, okay, well, that is so-and-so, or this is such and such? I mean, I think the angels are so personal to each one of us, and that it's important for us to just be really focused on who our support team is. But I'm just curious, is there a way that we can look at these photos and have some sense of knowing across, that, hey, this is someone, this is Angel so and so.
Yeah, you only have to slow down, and you're never done slowing down. So slow down some more. Don't beat yourself up, don't judge, but it's basic listening, basic feeling, basic trusting though. Picture a sport you were just getting into or learning to play the piano. The very first few times you tried to sit down, you're like, what am I doing? It's like driving a car. Driving a car, usually you're super excited for the first 2 weeks. And after that, it becomes kind of a chore. You get stuck in traffic 30 years later in California, LA, and you're upset that you're stuck in traffic. You forgot that the beauty of driving a car when you were 14 or 18, how amazing it was. But the photos, like, that's a fairy with wings. So that's very defined. 4 archangels, there's 3 more off camera. I cropped it.
Okay.
So not orbs, and I try to get away from that term.
So let me ask that
Yeah.
question then. So the last one you just showed with Archangel Michael in there, what is it about that particular shape that that's an archangel?
Just over time. And if you also grab 20 people who have gotten over all these concepts. So instead of worrying about the details, if I grabbed, let's say, 20 super comfortable in their skin humans who are good at listening, I think they would all come to the same conclusion. How about that? I've got a silhouette of an angel that's my guardian angel, just light waves of energy in water. And you can just call her Min, like Minnesota, the Lakota Sioux word for water. So what's fun about this is not just balls of light, but still balls of light, pink one, a blue one. And get past the light thing. You can see the ball of light in your hand. I mean, this is kind of like, do some other baby steps first. Don't pick this as the very first thing you're trying to do, but you could see a pink ball of light in my hand here and pass it through 2 screens to there, bring it in for a hug. I've had show hosts last year see angels standing here. Audrey Hepburn one time. Your relatives are where this is the clincher. So I always say meet angels first, but you've got an Uncle Joe and Aunt Martha. I always say, hey, talk to angels first to make sure it's cool and that you're comfortable with it, they're comfortable with it, and you kind of get the good housekeeping seal of approval. But if you're seeing Aunt Martha, you know who Aunt Martha is. Aunt Martha is you love her. You love her cooking, everything about her, you miss her. That's a reunion. It's hard to complain or argue about or question that one. So angels are angels, guides are guides. Einstein, Gandhi, figures from India. That was a lot for me culturally. I've never been to India. I'm very much looking forward to going at some point. Native American chiefs, but ancient philosophers. Plato, Socrates, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, other figures, Mother Teresa, some religious figures, non-religious figures. Think of this all as a leap of faith. And it's not about the details. Now, with the same breath, it's about the details. Get any answer to any question. So for career, health,
well, I think
growth.
My question was more about, for those of us who are interested in looking at what we've captured and having a general understanding of who is this. Of course, it is just about asking the question, right, and hearing the answer, who is this? But it appears that in the community that there are some particular things that like you just said, a lot of people agree on. Well, you could ask a number of people and they would all say that this is Archangel Michael. Or
ask Michael. Ask Michael, ask Joy, ask Audrey Hepburn, which angel is this? Well, the way it's happened for me, it's been the opposite. Instead of a photo first, I would have like the name Lucy pop up. So in a independent film with Colin Farrell, did I say the right name right? I think an Irish actor. He's a fisherman, Syracuse, and the boat is named Lucy. It was the same time that the Scarlett Johansson film Lucy came out, and I went to go see it. So it was Lucy this, Lucy that, Lucy that. Well, I'm so slow that it's not even dawning on me. Why am I saying Lucy so much? That's the next angel coming in, but it's Lucy. She's Patience. So I got to meet her that way. There's a Presley. My cat is named after Presley, but Presley came in on Elvis Presley movies. I'm not an Elvis Presley fan. I'm not knocking Elvis Presley, but I was putting on the TV and I kept seeing like Blue Hawaii and other stuff. So they have a way of coming in if it's meant to be, and you're supposed to be meeting a lot of angels, but it's Presley, Elvis Presley, Elvis Presley. She's like, call me Presley. I'm sure they have other names, but she's like, it doesn't matter which way you spell it. And Presley, let's see. I think she's the interconnectedness of all. yeah, interconnectedness of all is kind of her role.
Okay. Well, that's
There's a harmony whose harmony, there's a faith whose faith, there's a hope whose
yeah.
hope, there's a joy whose joy.
So it leads me to another question, because I've in all my angel conversations and connection with spirits and guides, I've don't recall ever asking, well, it's not true. I have asked, but it wasn't in the realm of complete angels. It was a spirit. A couple of times when there was a crossed over spirit that was near me, I've asked their name. But if it's someone that I'm looking to for guidance, I haven't asked their name. Is that something that you recommend? Do you say, yes, ask their name so that you have a relationship and you know when someone's coming back? Because I think that was also something that I got out of the book that you wrote, was that I was like, oh, it's kind of nice that you have a relationship that you go back to, and you kind of go, okay, I know if I want this, I can go to Joy and she'll give me something like this. Or if I go to Dale, he'll give me the more practical coaching advice. Or, so you really have a repertoire of people. And I don't really look at it like that in such individuality, but do the angels like it if we do that? And is that something you recommend, that we actually hear their names and that we differentiate them as spirits and angels on the other side?
I think the answer is yes, no, maybe. This is a little bit like marathon training and how all the popular coaching has evolved over the decades. Jeff Galloway then changed his entire coaching strategy with millions of people. When he had an audience member ask about marathon training, he recounted a story of this guy was doing marathon training, but he'd stop and walk for, I forget if it was 3 minutes, 10 minutes in the middle of a long run. Now, for runners, it's sacrosanct that you keep running. You never stop in the middle of a marathon. You're running 20 miles to train for the marathon. Why would you ever stop? You're supposed to run for running. And so this changed the entire concept of training and thinking. It turns out if you're just a first-time marathoner, second-time marathoner, this tremendously helps you out in your survival sort of percentage for getting to the finish line and the real deal. So I think it's the same way in that there's evolutions in the way we approach our thinking towards these topics. I still think this is a lot of, it's measuring, it's questioning, it's perfectly fine. Do whatever is comfortable with you. I think of the term spirit. I didn't grow up with the word spirit, and I think that applies to all with a capital A. I was on a show, I think the beginning of last year, where I got asked about, spirit versus the universe. And it was very technical, same way, parsing a little bit. I just never got comfortable with the concept of the word spirit, but
when you say spirit,
hear that all the time.
And you said all, what do you mean? You're saying that it's too all encompassing, too many things? Or
I think there's a lot of people from the 70s, 80s, 90s who constantly refer to spirit. And I think that's a common phrase, if I've got this right, in the spirituality community, and a very common one, and probably the most popular one, if I'm saying it right. And by that, I just mean, how do you refer to all? How do you refer to the universe? How do you refer to angels? How do you refer to the binding force of love that's everything? There's differences there culturally. If you're from New Zealand or an indigenous tribe, you have a different way of saying it. And so everyone has just sort of adopted what works for them. I'm coming in sort of not new, but 11 years ago, and all lingo is a little interesting. As far as I want to go is like unconditional love, gentleness, compassion, and hey, you can have more fun, get your answers, get your hugs, get healing, whatever you'll allow for. There was one other thing, the orb thing. I know it's very popular to say orbs if you've got balls of light in your photos, but some are angels, some are guides, some are just reconciled folks saying hi. Others, it's other. There's negativity out there. I've seen negativity before. It's not something I try to put my focus on. I'm just hopefully a happy, sparkly fellow.
So if someone has a photo, so I'm kind of going back to the same question. If someone has a photo and they're like, I really would like to learn more about what's here. I feel a connection to this image. Is there a place that they can go? I get we should just ask. We should ask the actual, well, I won't say spirit, the actual angel, whatever it is. So we don't know. Is it an angel? Is it an orb? Is it is it a guide? Like, and again, I recognize that this is all heady stuff, right? And you're trying to get us into our heart. And so I recognize that. But for the newbies out there that haven't had any relationship with angels, some of this is helpful for them to be able to go, oh, okay, well, here's how I navigate this. I've got this great photo and I have something here and I want to have a connection to it and I want to know what it is. Is there Is there,
Then I've got very strong advice for that, which is
okay,
just get to know Michael and Gabriel first. And it doesn't matter which way you do it, but if as soon as you're comfortable with Michael and Gabriel, then go from there and ask if it's a good idea to connect with that ball of light you've got in a photo, because you can have a ball of light in the photo that's negativity as well. So it just depends what the nature of the energy is. And this is, again, back to knowing the difference between a good cup of coffee, a bad cup of coffee. I think we all know a bad cup of coffee, the milk is spoiled. We stop drinking it right away. There's no way. It tastes like
right,
water or it doesn't taste good. So you're going to have to learn to trust your heart, follow your heart. You're going to have to learn to do basic listening. And the only way I know how to do the suggestion of basic listening is you run into someone at the supermarket that is one of your most favorite happy people in the world. They just make your day. The rest of your day is made. You're excited you ran into them and you're hanging on every word. It doesn't have to be a rock star. It could just be that person that you really love. That's what we're talking about here for attention. You can't be in the middle of making your list for dinner tonight or thinking about the laundry you left in the wash. This is undivided attention. So start with an archangel, start with whoever your favorite guru out there is, your favorite author, your favorite teacher, your angel cards. Find a way to establish basic listening. And then if you want to explore the photography thing, that's fine. You'll have to understand, some people do the muscle testing to figure out which way is up, which way is down. But
right.
you're going to have to figure out for the audience here what you trust, what your validation method is, and stuff like that. For me, the way I help folks is gently plunging them into the pool and showing them that they've got all the abilities for sensing, feeling, hearing, full on personality, full on everything else.
Yeah.
And so we go from there. So I try not to get too stuck on other photographs and stuff like that. There's a lot of
Well,
photos.
yeah,
There's
I think,
170 figures people can meet
yeah, of
at the
course. I
outset.
think I think what I'm trying to do is get people interested, and when they are interested, to take it to that next step, right? So something's happened and now they're exploring it. But I hear you. So we'll encourage people to just continue to go out there, ask the questions, who is this, and build the relationship with whatever it is that's coming through, and also ask with discernment, is this an angel from the light, or is this an angel that I need to build a relationship with? That's also probably a very important question for a lot of people, to just understand what it is that's reaching out to you.
Sure. All angels are absolutely fantastic. One angel can get everything done for you for the next 30 years. It's fun to have a little bit of variety, and angels, everyone has an angel team or support. Some angels come and go as you go through different life stages and stuff like that. You've got a life stage angel, you've got a guardian angel at the minimum. Again, I just want to go back to that topic though. If it's a ball of light, it doesn't necessarily mean an angel. And if we're giving advice to folks out there, they've snapped a photo and they weren't in a great mood, don't just start talking to the ball of light, to do it that way. I would say find a way. There's so many different seminars out there. There's so many ways to go. Find a way to tap into your own inner, listening. What do you think half your good intuition has been this whole time? Go ahead, and if you're tentative about this and you're really pursuing the photography part of this, find Michael, find Gabriel, start listening that way, and then tiptoe and see how you do for branching out.
Yeah. Now, I've had a couple of friends who are very intuitive. They don't claim to be angel intuitives necessarily, but they see a lot of lights, a lot of small little orbs, a lot of the time. What would you describe that as? Is there something that's well known, that when you're seeing a lot of these bright lights, is there something that describes?
There's a lot of different beings, different types of beings. There's light beings, there's jinn or elementals, there's fairies. There's just a lot of different currents, so to speak. Think about anything else. There's a lot of different flavors. If we talk football, it goes all the way from peewee, flag football, all the way up to the NFL, but Canadian football. There's a lot of different purposes and roles, but fairies can answer an astrophysicist, scientist's question, help out with a formula just as much as an angel. Think about all the different unconditional love spirit guides. Again, Native American chiefs who are unconditional love, Plato, Mother Teresa, some religious figures, and so on, plus your relatives. Some of them are reconciled and absolutely looking out for you. So
But you're getting
it's
like
just
a blast of little light, little, I don't want us to call them orbs, but if you're getting a blast of them, does that mean something in your mind that you've experienced, that it's not like just one or two, but it's like it's literally like it's raining these beautiful little white lights? Is there anything in particular that that to be?
I think you have to go back to asking whoever your primary ambassador is for your awakening, for letting go, whoever your comfort zone is, if it's Michael, if it's Gabriel. I think you need to go that route because, for example, I lost my cat, Macy. I think she was 16. I'm crushed. And it's in April in Austin. There's no fireflies at that point, but I'm looking out a window. And again, I'm a little slow on this. I'm seeing golden fireflies everywhere, and I'm yelling in my household, "Oh my God, golden fireflies, get to the window, look at this." And no one had the heart to tell me for a couple months that it wasn't real. I mean, they saw it the next time around. I'm not saying it wasn't real. It was just angels, fairies, everybody trying to cheer me up a little bit with, fairies, golden light, little flecks of light, beautiful, just like fireflies, maybe a little stronger. And it raised my spirits because I was really bummed out my cat had passed. It wasn't until we were on the trail, I think 2 months later, where like, remember that time? And, there was another time, other folks in the house weren't meant to see it that time, but another time they got to see it. And so again, there's no limits here. You have no limits, first of all. So whether we're talking angels or we're just talking how to go through your day with a little more openness, a little more possibility, a little more kindness, a little more higher vibe, that's what this is really about, is take the first step, invite. If again, love is the fabric of the universe, invite the universe to come in and meet you halfway. They'll do more than that. And just give yourself a break. Try not to beat yourself up about the details, because it's totally not about the details. Again, you can have any details, but start the journey when you're comfortable and ready. And sometimes it's illness, the car wreck, this happened, the divorce. Sometimes you signed up for it without necessarily knowing it at face value as you're going through your life. But bigger stuff happens, and the next thing you know, you're having a huge bit of transformation. And then it's like that Dr. Seuss book, the places you'll go.
Yeah. Now, do you have a way that you describe angels versus guides versus maybe your starseed family?
I mean, if it's a light being, it took me a while. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, I finally got comfortable with the concept of light beings. I was walking into a closet. It's a different house, a brand new build. And I'd have this energy that's unconditional love touching my face. I wasn't uncomfortable with it. I was like, okay, this is a much broader energy touching my face, saying hi, but I wasn't really ready to I think everyone somewhere, for some people, the concept that fairies could exist, or Plato, the philosopher, that's a lot. It took me 6 months, 10, 11 years ago to accept that Plato could exist. The fact that Tinkerbell exists, are you kidding? Except I have a photo of her. And I have an Omega Institute former staffer, used to do the booking. Like if Deepak Chopra goes to Omega, she would organize the 700-person event and all the rest. She says in her testimonial on my LinkedIn page, my website, and Tinkerbell was my very favorite. So she grew up loving Tinkerbell. It's a lot. All of this is a lot. So try to get out of the judging and reacting. But even the Native American chiefs, Dull Knife, Red Shirt, Geronimo, 6 months later, I was like, oh, they're the real Dull Knife, Red Shirt, Geronimo. I don't know what I was thinking in the first 6 months. I'm slow. I'm just trying to keep my head above water, one step at a time, one experience at a time. But I would add that, I mean, those three have been with me since 1970 when my dad died. When I was 2, military accident off the coast of Italy. It was his time to go. Hundreds of people have met my mom and dad. My mom had passed when I was turning 23. This is a big part of my personal life story, is their passing helped somehow set a foundation for me to be a little more calm about this and to be able to help others. So you're never alone, you're heard. And if you only want to take a baby step, just do what you're already doing, which is one weighing. Winnie the Pooh says it best. Everyone talks to animals, no one listens. And that's the problem, it says in the quote, but I say that's the opportunity. Flip it. You just have endless opportunity for growth on any front. You don't do yoga, you can do yoga. You don't cook, you can cook. You don't sing in the shower, sing in the shower. You don't smile enough, smile more. Wave to a stranger. That's what this is all about. Like the ending of Christmas Carol with Scrooge being a happy, joyous, good business person. We always think Scrooge is the jerk, and he is at the beginning of the book. 72 pages later and 2 minutes of transformation. At any given moment, again, you can be happy now in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. That challenge is our senses more than the concept, is it an angel? Is it a guide? Is it a light being? And that is where the rub is. We have more thinking going on, more structure, more measuring, more judging, reacting than we're ever going to realize unless we're having a near-death experience. We're out of body looking down and we go, oh my God, it's so pretty in the universe. Why do I think so much? Why do I worry about all these details? I should be petting my dog, hugging my baby, telling my neighbor, you know, hey, you're cool, dude. So back to the light being thing, I had a bunch of people show up for these virtual teas that I do that were more light being background oriented. Got more comfortable with the idea, and you can meet light beings a little more than maybe the light being community thinks. You can meet them in more physical form. It's going to be kind of like Silver Surfer is how I describe it. So just think Silver Surfer with a little bit of detail, and I have a feeling they're
Silver
dumbing it
Surfer in
down.
what way? Silver hair,
Silver
body,
Surfer's like Silver
uh,
Surfer. If you remember the Marvel or the DC comic, I'm totally in trouble for those who follow comic books right now. I should know which universe it is. But the Silver Surfer figure, by that I just mean, think of a light body that's kind of human shape with some features so you feel comfortable. But light beings are like whales, angels are like dolphins. Fairies are not just about gardens and kids animated Disney movies. Fairies can still help you with the hard stuff as well. When you go to see a fairy, at least how I help folks, you know, Ginger shows up as a 14-year-old, Tink shows up as a 13-year-old. That's one way. Fairies, you can see them like 14 different ways. Light, just moving around. Again, a teenager, if you're looking 10 houses down. Little figures, like the way you would expect. You put your hand out, you've closed your eyes, you hear ready, you look down and you see a little fairy with wings. Again, the classic way that I would say is the classic way from all the Disney movies. So there's a lot of ways to see fairies. They're great at breaking you in on the seeing front. Some people can get the hearing done, no problem. They get the hugs, no problem. They get a little bit of healing. They feel a good vibe. They feel lighter, but they get to the seeing part and they get a little bit blocked. I was at a bookstore in Austin one time. This woman sailed through everything, and somehow I had a bystander who's a friend of mine who's witnessed all this, done it herself. And so I had another person there who's, you know, already done everything, and they're calm and cool about this. They're witnessing someone just get their answers, get their hugs. But when it came to the seeing part, they were blocked. All three of us saw the lights go out in the store. All the customers didn't see that. Joy, the angel, cut the lights out somehow in our reality. It got the poor woman who was doing great to just slow her roll. She had suddenly gotten back up in her head, just like you would for a high dive. You're in 5th grade, you've done a certain high 6-foot dive. You got to go to the, you know, 9 meter, 10 meter, whatever it is. I don't think it's that high. And you're nervous about doing the next thing. That's what happened to her. She calmed down, a laugh, she got the seeing done, a little bit of light. And then later, if you're handling everything well, you just see Audrey Hepburn full on across the street. So it's really, what will you allow for? That's part of my job, is it's like tasting the stew and seeing if it's ready. Simmer, 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 keep giving broader opportunities. And I describe it as like 70 little baby steps to let go. Maybe one act, you knock off 20 of those steps. There's no one way or the other, but it is, I'll blow a little bit of sage. Maybe we can do that for the show. It goes through 2 screens. Yeah, I've done this on maybe.
We should jump into this and give the viewers a little experience, because I've had this now, I think, a couple of times with you, and I have to say it's a beautiful experience. It is, you're all about getting out of the mind and getting into the heart and just connecting. So that's, I think, the offering for everyone. There's going to be lots of questions and things said, but it's about going inward.
And the only rule or structure that I have, besides a pen and paper is nice if you're getting all your answers, you know, it's nice to write them down. Half the stuff you write, it could be, well, not half, but a few answers. 3 days later, you might tell yourself, I don't remember writing that. That's an incredible answer. And it really perks you up 3 days after you wrote everything. So that's a really big surprise that people always say, it happens to me. I'm like, I don't remember that at all.
I'm going back to what I wrote the other day when I did the exercise from your book. So, and yeah, it's still today. I'm like, wow, that was such great advice.
So back to the big picture question before I light this and explain it. This is also bigger than any of our attempts at grasping can get to. So just absolutely keep grasping, absolutely keep analyzing. But at the end of the day, if you just take a breath, if you just squeeze your fist for thinking and open up, that's being in your heart, the flat part. Give it a rest. If you have a favorite aunt, favorite uncle, a lost brother who you loved and love, they're still with you. Talk to them one way, walk around the house. Even as you're vacuuming, you can have a chat one way. Trust that you can hear, though, if you're ready for it. What do you think half your good intuition's been your whole life? If it was the voice that said, hop in that Jag, it's not yours, and go 110 miles, steal the car, that's not an angel. This is Whole Foods, that sage you get. I think it's Juniper Ridge. It's on my website. California company, very stable choice of incense sticks and sage. I'm not sponsored or anything. I should be. This is lighting the sage. My only rule or structure is give yourself permission to let go. Ask your higher self, your soul to help out. Ask your angel crew, ask your relatives to help you. And my only rule would be, hey, slap your hand on your heart. Angels, get me out of my head into my heart. Make this nice. Help me smell some sage smoke in New Zealand right now. Germany. You're watching this a year later, Europe somewhere, Alaska. Just give yourself permission, but ask angels to bring it through 2 screens. Leave your eyes on the smoke. A lot of Americans like to start to shut their eyes to listen or to do this or that. Leave your eyes open. This is like plant medicine too. Everything's a vibration. People in India, half the people in India will tell you everything is alive and speaks. Trees, rocks, sage smoke. So some people taste it on their mouth. I'll tell you one quick dad joke, because if you can laugh at a dad joke, it means you're in your heart, you're wide open. And I'm going to give you my worst one. What's the only flower found on the human face? Tulips. And catch a little bit of, yeah, it's a bad joke, but catch a little bit of sage smoke wherever you are. And just to show that we're linear, even if you do get it, or when you get it, we tend to just go, ask for the sage smoke to be healing. Ask for it to go around your house, your apartment, your house, your property, and clear it out. Let angels carry the sacred smell, the sacred scent, the sacred energy. And this is used for cleansing for those who haven't heard about this before, but sage smoke will clear your property out. I'll do this before or after I talk to somebody as a sacred act. You can replay this. You can go to other videos. It's really a function of where are you at. If you're watching this and you're like, wait, how is that possible? It's the same thing with angel photos. You can find them in a bunch of different spots, social media and so on. Put your hand out to an angel photo and feel the vibe through 2 screens. Why not? That's what this is really all about, is more why not?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love it. I can smell the sage. It's a fabulous experience. Can you do one card with us? One angel card?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll do Joy, who's the angel, the emotion, Joy. She's the ambassador, communicator, the one that answers everything we've been asking this whole show, which is, how do we get here? How do we allow for the universe, angels to do their jobs? That's it. So you're getting out of your head and you're getting out of what you know just long enough to let an angel do their job. I think that helps us shift the perspective a little bit. So here's Joy. She's a pink ball of light. If anybody just wants to put their hand up, feel energy on their fingers, their palm. Some people have gotten sparkle on their toes. What will you allow for? An unofficial tip is breathe through your mouth. Sometimes we tense up and lock our mouth shut. Okay. Breathe a little extra, 1 millimeter open. Take 5 or 6 breaths, have your hand out. If you're already gung-ho and you've already done all this stuff, you've met a relative, you've had an angel help you, you rolled over in a car, it wasn't your time to go, they pulled you out of the car, a trooper gets there and says, no, I'm the first one on the scene. What are you talking about, the man who pulled you out of the car? And right. So people have had experiences. If you've already kind of gotten everything done, you smelled the sage just now, then ask Joy to bring you a Maui beach smell in the air. Maybe some wave action, hibiscus in the air. Ask for your favorite beach, Canary Islands, the Med, Bahamas, wherever is the ocean, the beach, that the vacation spot that you haven't been to in a while, have angels bring it to you. That's $1 million experience. You have no limits. And that's the whole point here. If you really look at how we all are spending our day, it's more like we're looking at the toes on our shoes and we're judging everything to the point where we're kind of killing the moment a little. And I'm not trying to knock it. I do as much thinking as the next person. So the name of the game here is live more, laugh more, love more, share your vibe. You have so much more energy here than you'd ever know, unless you start getting kind of flowing here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love your work. And we can buy the photos on the website. We can buy the book and there's photos in the book. Do you have a card set? Is there like cards that you can buy, or is it just, which is great. We can put it on our phones when we buy the photos, but tell us a little bit more about what your offerings are on the website.
Card sets could be coming in the future. Right now, they're individually sold. So that's easier in a way. You can just put those on the phone, and that is a fantastic way to go, because even this photo will change colors or you'll see light come out of it. Historical photos are fantastic too, because again, you get a wink, a smile, a nod, especially Sai Baba and Audrey Hepburn. Again, don't forget to put your hand up. It's setting the table first, though. It could be you're a community soccer player. You're about to step on the field. What are your normal rituals or preparation to get to your heart to perform at your best? You're a golfer and you're about to play this weekend. You want to play really well. Well, you know, the more you think, the more you shank. So how are you going to set the table for you to drop to here and give it and to be all you can be?
Yeah.
That's all this is really about. You do that, angels take care of the rest.
Yeah. I love it. It's all about being in the flow, isn't it? And being connected. All right. So let's give everyone your website. Will you give a shout out? I'll also put it in the description below so people can easily link onto it, but tell everyone how they can find you.
Sure. It's super easy. It's my full name, michaelandreford.com. So www.michael, the normal way, AEL, Andre like the champagne, Ford like the trucker car. And I've got a new YouTube show. It's Angels, Positivity, and Love. 9 episodes have been recorded. All the guests are probably show hosts themselves, authors, healers, experts, one TikTok person who's got 800,000 for following. But they've all met angels and seen angels with me previously. We don't really focus on that too much. It's more their life story and so on. But at the end, they get to do angel cards. They do the sage smoke. They do some other exercises too. So folks who are wondering about how to take baby steps might want to tune into that part so they can just feel more comfortable watching someone else be the guinea pig.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think this was an incredible discussion and fun for everyone to just get a little intro, but also a really big experience. And I think scheduling a consultation with you is something I would highly encourage for people, because yes, we can do this on our own, and yes, we can be with the cards, but I think sitting with you and your energy and having the experience is a real shifter. So I would encourage everyone to sign up for a consultation with you, as well as all of the other beautiful things that you offer. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Beth. Angels exist. Trust that it's so, and everything else will unfold.
Yes, for sure.